So in this video we're going to show you how to set up the Meridian zero delay transmitter. If you haven't seen them already, have a look at the OB receiver setup, the handheld receiver setup. We also have videos showing you how to do tally, how to set it up with a Steadicam rig, the iris and tally only system, and also we have a small tally system as well that you can use with the full telemetry system. So Gareth is with us. He's from ITV Studios, who owns the system. He's got a few hundred hours under his belt using it, so what better person to ask how to set the system up. So Gareth, this is the transmitter. Where do we go from now?
Okay, well I'll just demonstrate some of the features of the transmitter itself. So it's quite a compact unit, and it's got a double V-lock plate. So you've got one on this side and one on the other there that you can. So it makes it quite adaptable when you put it on the camera, and you can put the battery on the back, you can put the telemetry on the back and stuff like that, but we'll show you that later on. Down here's all your connectors that you got. So the BNC connectors you got here, so we've got 3 lines of component. So you've got the green channel on top there, the red channel and the blue channel. You can give it a composite feed through this BNC here, and you can also give it the standard SDI feed, which is what we're going to be feeding it today. And that is HD or SDI as well.
That's right, and we also support all formats up to 1080p30, including 23.98. So it does all the flavours of SD and HD. We don't support 3G, 1080, 50 or 60. There are ways of using the Meridian to do 3D, using 2 transmitters or muxing before, but if you need more information on that, give us a call and we'll explain that in more detail.
We'll start by fixing the antennas onto the top. So you've got the 4 antennas on the top there, and this 5th antenna isn't used.
Yeah, not for what you guys do here, they don't use that. That's for the Tally iris only product that allows you to put a small amount of data back into the transmitter that controls the iris and a tally light. So that's in this circumstance, when you're using broadcast mode in the units, you use the 4 antennas only for the transmission.
Okay, so we'll start by putting the 4 antennas on there.
Now these are reverse polarity T and C. We do a range of different antennas, different lengths. For studio environments, these short little stubby ones are usually the best to go for. We also do a slightly longer one. If you're outdoors, it's a good idea to get the antenna elements just above the cameraman's head so he doesn't actually block the signal. But for indoors, these little stubby ones are probably the best way to go.
And now, similarly to the receiver we've got there, we're trying to get the best spread of signal for the studio itself. What we want to do is do the same thing on the transmitter as well. So all these antennas have got the little knuckle joints on them as well. So what we'll do is to point them to the 4 corners of the unit itself. So we've got that kind of setup on there.
So this is a particular trait of MIMO, unlike a traditional COFDM system. We're using 4 antennas in the same spectrum to send the signal, and it's very important that we try to create differentials between those antennas, different polarizations, and then that allows the receiver to pick up different parts of the signal and combine all of that together to get a very robust signal. So this is the ideal setup for a kind of studio environment. There's a few different setups that we can do for outdoors. That's explained in different videos, but certainly for indoor studio, this is exactly the way to set it up. So that's the antennas sorted out. Now we need to think of how to mount it on the camera. Now we've got a Sony 1500 camera here, which is probably the workhorse for most studio setups. If you're using a camcorder, then the camcorder would have a Anton Bauer or V-lock on the back of the camera. These cameras don't, so we need to make up a bracket such as this that actually clips into the viewfinder connector through this V-plate, and that offers up two V-locks or 2 Anton Bauer plates.
So now we'll rig the transmitter to the actual the camera itself. So we'll dock it into the V-lock on the back there, and also give it a bit of power as well. So the power goes through the 2 plates and through the camera as well. So everything on here will be live.
Now, one thing to consider here, that if you're using this with a Steadicam rig, then you'll probably power it in a different way. But if you look at the video showing the Steadicam setup, it'll show you a few different options of power. In this case, what we're doing is we're taking the power from the battery, we're sending it from the 2-pin D-tap and then into the 4-pin of the camera. Next, we'd plug in the video. So you can see here we're plugging this into the SDI connector. So we're taking SDI or HD SDI from the camera, plugging into SDI. And then if we put a battery on the back of the camera, this battery will power through the D-tap, and then
make sure the camera is obviously clicked to external for the external power to go through the camera. And yep, it's just powering up now.
So the next thing to look at is the screen here that gives us some information on exactly what's going on with the transmitter. The most useful thing to know about is if the transmitter is actually getting a signal. And you can see here we get an SDI loss if I unplug the BNC, and then as soon as it gets a signal that it's happy with, it will give you a signal saying SDI OK. So Gareth, do you want to show us how to use the menus?
Yep, sure. So to get into the menu itself, you just press the E button up here, and the default menu that comes up is the input selector. So at the moment we're on SDI, so we've got SDI OK there, and 4 options are SDI, composite, component, and there's a built-in test pattern within the transmitter as well.
And that's a 720p test pattern, so make sure that your equipment can actually can see a 720p signal if you're trying to use that internal test pattern.
So just for now, I'm just going to set it to composite just to show you. So you press this the button here that's relevant to that, the composite, and it will say composite loss, just because obviously we're not sending any kind of composite down at the moment. So that's all you have to do just to switch it, and we'll switch it back to SDI there, so SDI OK. And then to come out of the menu, just press the star button there.
So now the transmitter's been set up, the next thing to look at is on the receiver panel. So you can see here all the bars are relatively the same. I can show you what happens when you have one antenna not connected properly, or if you've got a broken antenna. I've just taken the antenna off, and now you can see that one of the antennas here is much lower than the other. And if I just put that back on, you'll see that it will come straight back up again. So that gives you a really good indication if one of the antennas isn't working. The transmitter and receiver need to be on the same frequency, of course. They also need to be both in broadcast mode, and they also need to be in the same region as well. So if you're in EU, US, custom 2, make sure they match, or they won't talk to each other. So that's a very important thing, and you can adjust that within the menus. So that's the setup for the transmitter. Check out the Steadicam setup, because we power it differently for a Steadicam. Also, that shows you how to use a second system as a return video or a auto cue. So the Steadicam can be completely wireless, and also give you an auto cue or return video as well. We also have other videos to show you how to set up outdoors and indoors. So check out all the videos, and that'll give you a good understanding of how to set the systems up and get the best out of them.